Alright, I'm back today with more Kerbal Space Program. So let's get right into it. What we want to do is want to get some more satellites into orbit. And before we do that, we want to go back to the satellite we already have and rename it. Now we rename satellites simply by going to the Pro Body, right click, rename vessel. And I just want to take away the Mk1. And I'm going to actually, I'm just going to put E1. So, because we're in an equatorial orbit, so E for equatorial, and it's the first one in orbit around the equator. So there we go. Okay, so now we have some kind of system to name and differentiate these things. Alright, so let's go back to our launch pad, Space Center, and go to launch pad, find our rocket. Here it is. Load it up. Alright, now this one we want to put in a polar orbit. But before I do that, let's look at the map here. You know what, that's actually right about where I want it. I want it right on this line of day and night. Why do I want it on day and night? Just because. Just because that's how I want it. So this is the perfect time to launch it. That actually works out perfectly. So let's throttle this baby up. And SAS on. And we're off. What is that? Which I can probably see right now what that is. Quite simply... Oh, is that Minmus, maybe? Oh yeah, that is Minmus. I never realized you could see Minmus from Kerbin. But you can, look at that, that's Minmus. Alright, so I'm going to throttle back up now, and we're going to begin tilting. Oh, I actually... I'm going the wrong way. You know what? It's fine. We can go south instead of north. There is nothing wrong with that. We can do it. We can do this however we want. So let's get a little higher, and that's good. Alright, and then we'll add a node. Add a maneuver node. Put it in orbit. Actually, we don't want to go completely into orbit anyway. So yeah, let's bring the periaps back down to 29, and then we're also gonna fix the inclination we got here. Took it a little bit the other way. Alright, come on. Perfect, I think. Yeah, that's about where I want it. It might probably not exact, but it's close enough. Actually, that brings our periaps out some more. But we're actually probably not going to be able to do the whole thing anyway. Anyway, so let's get this aimed at the node, if we can. Oh, that's tough to turn. Hey, there we go. Let's watch it, because I want to shut it down before it gets there. It might actually run out of fuel before it gets there anyway. We're going to find out in a second. And, oh, yep, ran out of fuel. Except for that one middle engine. that one middle engine had a little bit of fuel left because it has less thrust. So that actually worked out perfectly. Alright, so dump that, and that will fall back into the atmosphere and slow down. And then give a little more speed just to make sure it's in orbit, and then we'll fix it after. So what are we looking at? Actually, the periaps is still a little low. Let's lock it there and bring it up. And I can't see it because of the sun, but okay, yeah, 75. Okay, we're good. So apoaps is at 85, periaps is at 75. Now, before we do anything else, let's get the solar panels out so we don't run out of power. That's always important. And let's get the communications out. There we go. And that's gonna fall back into the planet, not mess the whole area up with debris. Alright. So, let's take a look at what we got here. Actually, the inclination is pretty much fixed, I think. Oh yeah, it's actually right there. It's right where we want it. Perfect. That's good. That's better than I thought. We're right on. All I want to do is fix the orbit itself, which I don't want too close to the other satellite's orbit. Now see, on this side it's actually slightly above, so let's get this other side closer to 85. So we're actually going to have to do one whole orbit to get to where we want it to be. Oh, wow. We really don't have to burn much either. And now we'll time accelerate. And there we go, we're crossing the pole. Camera actually flipped there. Alright. Twelve, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and just over a minute away, so we're gonna line that up. So slightly off. We're literally barely gonna be hitting this engine. We're not even gonna have time to get it to full throttle. So let's go to our orbit map and get ready to do this. Actually, accelerate just a bit. Alright, there we go. Ready? 4, 3, 2, right about there. Perfect. Look at that. Periaps is just over 85 kilometers. Apoaps is just under 86 kilometers. I'd say that's pretty damn stable. And as you can see, if we get close to this path, that's actually outside of the path of the satellite. And that should be the same over here. Yep, that is the case. So there's no worry about a collision. Now, what we want to do is, I believe the way it works when you're in this polar orbit is I can now aim this at the sun, so the solar panels are always facing the sun, and the solar panels will always be facing the sun. Oop, too much. That's close enough. Doesn't have to be perfect. The rotation doesn't matter because the rotation will change, but I'm just playing with it now. And there we go. We have another satellite in orbit. And this one we'll rename. This will be P1 for the polar orbit. There we go. This should be fallen in. In fact, we can switch to it and see. This is a feature that they added. Before you could only do this with the haystack mod. But you can actually switch to debris and watch it. Oh wow, look at that. They really, they definitely, changed up the, poles a little bit, because it did not look like that in, 0.19. Yeah, that looks, nice. As you can see, the periapse is dropping because we are entering the atmosphere, and it's slowing us down. It's killing our orbital velocity and deorbiting us. You notice the textures are popping in down below a lot. I guess there's a bug that they introduced with this update. They updated all like the ground textures and stuff, but they did something where you're not seeing the highest quality textures from space, even when you have the texture quality set all the way, like I do. I don't know if any of you have seen it. There's a picture that Canadian astronaut Commander Hatfield, who was on ISS up until recently, where he finally came down, and he tweeted a picture of a small hole in one of the ISS solar panels, where apparently something punched through. Could only imagine how much worse. Ooh, there we go. We got re-entry effects. Could only imagine how much worse that would be if it had punched through the hull of the space station. There we go. Look at that. And we're going nice and fast too, so this should give us a nice bright effect. I'm so glad they finally added these re-entry effects, because this just makes it so much more satisfying getting back into Kerbin. We're going to launch another satellite, but we want to get this one around the moon. So, for future space missions, we need some extra communications going to the moon. But this ain't going to cut it. This is not going to be enough to get to the moon. I mean, this could probably push us towards it, but I don't know if we'd be able to get into an orbit. So we want a rocket that can get us further. Now, the first thing many of you might think to do is, oh, just strap more rockets to it. And yeah, we could do that, but remember, the more rockets you strap to something, you're also adding weight. And also, let's say eventually the career mode or whatever comes out for this, and you want to basically get the bang for your buck on how far this thing can go. Well, it's actually very simple, and all we gotta do is start by tearing this frickin' thing off. Then we're gonna go and we're gonna grab some decouplers, these decouplers in particular, and we're gonna actually, let's go on the top. We're gonna slap four of those on. Actually, no, better yet, we're only gonna do 2 at a time. 2. So we're gonna go 2, and 2. Actually, the worst part about doing this is hope that they're lined up. Yeah, it's... Oh, no, wait. No, that's off. They're lined up by height. Definitely not around, though. Alright, there we go. Okay, that's on. Now, hopefully these struts should still link up, too. So, we're still on 2. There's 2, but right there, decoupling. And there's another 2 down below. So, these are in their own separate staging, which is good. That's what we want. But we could still fix it later if we needed to. So, let's put these back on, and let's try to get them lined up about where they were. They don't actually need to be exact, as long as the 4 on the outside are lined up. And, oh, that's something. These all need to be down here. All these engines, just like that. Alright. Perfect. And then we're gonna actually grab this whole... Oh, do the struts... Oh yeah, the struts detached. Good. That's what I wanted to see. That's exactly what we need. Anyway, so we're gonna grab this whole assembly, but we're gonna grab onto the decoupler here, because that'll grab the whole stack that it's attached to. We're gonna hit Alt. We're gonna hold Alt and click, and that's gonna duplicate it for us. Actually, you know what? I didn't want to do that. I lied. I only want to grab the stack itself. So let's try that again. Yeah, this time, because I already have the decouplers on there. Alright. So now we're going to put this on and try to get it lined up as best we can. And is it lined up? Does it look lined up? It looks like it's a little higher. Close enough. Okay. So, all these engines are going to fire together. That's good. And we have the decouplers in separate sets. And that's important, because this is going to be what's called asparagus staging. We're going to go and we're going to get these fuel lines, which are on page 2, I believe. Yep. Alright. I'm going to keep the symmetry on 2. We're going to get the fuel lines. And now let's see which decouplers come first. So, yeah. So these are going to be the first stage to decouple. So these are going to be where we start the fuel lines. So we're going to attach the fuel line to here and send it to here. Now notice the arrows on it. This fuel line's one way, which means these 2 stacks are each going to be pulling from this stack, but this stack can't pull from this stack. So this stack will pull from this stack, but not the other way around. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to put a line on that stack and then send that to the middle. So now basically, when we first launch this, all 5 of these engines are all going to pull from the 2 stacks at the end. So these stacks are going to run out fast. And then we'll be able to drop just these stacks, because we have those 2 decouplers at first. Then we'll have less weight, but all these other stacks will still be full of fuel, and then these 3 engines will burn for a while, but this middle stack won't be being used. It'll be being pulled from these 2 outer stacks as well. So then eventually these 2 motors will run out, and we'll drop those, but we'll still have 2 full tanks of fuel in the middle that this motor will now be able to run on. So it just makes it a lot more efficient when you launch it. So that's how it is. All the staging should be set up right, and that should give us that little extra oomph we need so we can get it into orbit. We'll probably still have we should have some of this fuel left in the middle, so we can then do our trans-Munar injection and get to the moon. So we're not going to save this as Mach 1, we'll save it as Mach 2. And now we're... Oh wait, nope, not ready. We have to add some landing struts. I mean, not landing struts, structural pylons. And we're going to want to go into an equatorial orbit since we're going to the moon. Let's throttle it back up. SAS on. And fire. Build up a little speed, and now we'll throttle it back just a tad. A little more. There we go. Alright, building it slowly. And now, as you can see, these bars are going down at different rates. And even though it looks like all the fuel tanks are running out, this is actually, all these bars are considering the entire chain of fuel together. So because these two that are going down faster can't pull fuel from the other stacks, those are going down faster. In fact, yeah, as you can see, these are the end chain tanks, and they're running down. But these tanks aren't running out at all yet. Same with the middle. And we're going to continue to climb. We got to be ready to stage it. We're actually going to we're going to have to bump the throttle up just a bit just before it happens too, so that we make sure we keep pushing upwards. So let's keep watching that fuel. It's getting down there. Almost there. I'll bump it up just a bit now. And get ready to separate. And separation. Look at that. Perfect. And those will drop away, and now you can see the bars have reset themselves. They're all full again. And those will crash down right on top of the launch pad and kill some hard-working Kerbals, I'm sure. Alright. So now we've dropped some of our weight. We still have plenty of fuel. And this is how you make the rocket more efficient. And now, of course, the fuel's dropping slower because now we only have 3 motors pulling from these tanks. So, actually, technically, each of these motors are running on their own tank, and then this motor's pulling equally from each side. Oh, I'm past the point where I should have turned. That's okay. I'll just do it really fast. Gravity turn. Increase the throttle. Ugh. Too much, too much. It's alright. No biggie. Pick up some more throttle. You gotta build some speed. Take a look at what we got for an orbit. Add some more. Actually, let's go full throttle. 28, 29. It is going slower than it would before because we have less motors, but we're going to have plenty of fuel. Throttle back just a little. It looked just a little bit unstable. We're going to be dropping these tanks in a minute. I actually want to throttle off just in case it gets unstable. So there we go. Goodbye. Goodbye tanks. And now we got these 2 tanks are full of fuel, and this thing is spinning, but that's okay. We're still doing fine. And okay, so we can now get an orbit. Wow, plenty high enough. So we're going to add a node. Stretch that out. Doesn't need to be that high. Apoapse. This doesn't need to be fully stable and circular either, as usual, because we're not going to be staying in orbit for very long, but I'm still going to try to get it somewhat there. Alright. So, let's get pointed at that node, because we know it takes a while, and we're going to have to burn for 45 seconds. So we want to get it there kind of quickly. then we can get some control and hold it with SAS. As you can see, we still got a bunch of fuel left in this stage, so you can see how much we've increased the efficiency, because before we barely had enough to get it in an orbit with this stage, and now we have more than enough. So at about T-minus 23 seconds, I'll start the burn. I'll get it a little closer to the middle of that node. We're almost there. 7 seconds to go. 7, 26, 25, 24, 23. So we'll start burning, adjust slightly. And we now pick up speed, get up to orbital velocity. Got plenty of fuel, and we'll still have plenty of fuel to spare. So as you can see, that just gives you a good idea of how much more efficient it is to do asparagus staging. Alright, we're almost there. And there. Almost perfect. Alright, so now we're in a somewhat stable orbit. Let's get the solar panels out and the communications opened up. Of course, we're in the dock right now, so I'm not going to be picking up power, but we have plenty of power generated from the engines, and now that's starting to drop again, but we have plenty that it won't run out before we get in the sun. Now, to get to the moon, first off, let's check actually our inclination's not too bad. We're slightly off, but that's okay. We want to look around to right about where the moon rises, and just put a node roughly around here. It doesn't have to be exact, we can always move it, and pick up some speed. And look at that, we do have an encounter. So let's no, off. We do have an encounter, but let's move this node and see if we can't change when that encounter is. Nope, not what I want to do. So yeah, we have plenty of time to experiment with this node and stuff, and move it around, see exactly where we want to go. Nope. So yeah, I'm gonna have to give it more. So yeah, I was trying to see if there's a way I could do it with a shorter burn, but there's only so much you can do. So there we have a periapse of 266. I'd like to get it closer. Oh, there we go. There we go. Ugh. Yeah, 47, that's nice and close. That looks good, and then we can adjust the orbit and everything once we get there. Alright, so we have over 13 minutes before we get to this node. So basically, we're burning right about there, I want to say, and launching up and around, and we're going to meet the moon somewhere right about there. 19. There we go, we're burning. As you can see, our orbit's stretching out. Is going to start going out faster and faster, and I'm going to have to get ready to more. There we go. It's not exactly on, but it's close enough. We're gonna have to slow it down when we get there anyway. Alright, so now we have an encounter with the moon. And we'll be entering the sphere of influence in 3 hours, 40 minutes, and 56 seconds. And that is where the beauty of time acceleration comes in. As we see the moon rise right there. And we leave Kerbin. Goodbye, Kerbin. And we should take a look at the orbital map. Accelerate really fast now, 1,000 times. 21 seconds, 20 seconds. Now, you'll see once we enter the moon's sphere of influence, the nav ball is going to switch over. In fact, it'll probably flip the camera or something too. We are 9,401 kilometers above Kerbin, and there we go, it just switched it on us. And now we are 2,225 kilometers above the moon. Alright, so now that we are within the sphere of influence of the moon, you'll see that not only if we fly past the moon are we not going to stay in its orbit, but we're actually going to escape Kerbin and be stuck in a orbit around the sun. So what we want to do is slow it down. So I'm going to go at periaps, add maneuver, and burn retrograde until we have a nice circular orbit. But while we're at it, since this orbit's inclined, let's fix some of that. Actually, you know what? Do I want the orbit to be inclined? Not much I can do anyway, it's at an odd angle. Yeah, we'll fix it this way a little, and then I'll have to fix it the other way later. I don't want this stage floating around as debris. I'm gonna crash it into the moon. So I'm gonna keep burning retrograde until this has a collision course with the moon. Then I will just use the small engine on the satellite to burn out of it afterwards. There we go, that works. So we're 1 hour and 22 minutes away from that node, but let's kind of get pointed in its general direction. As we make our approach, the final approach to the moon, put a communication satellite in orbit for future Munar endeavors. And if you're new to this game, wondering why I'm saying Munar instead of lunar, that's a whole part of this game. This isn't in our solar system, it's floating around the star called Kerbal, or Kerbal, however you want to say it. And the planet Kerbin has the moon spelled M-U-N. So, and we don't say lunar, it's Munar. So instead of a translunar injection, it's a transmunar injection. So on and so forth. Oh god, is this thing sluggish to steer. Okay, 1 minute and 20 seconds to the node. Alright. So we only have to burn for 11 seconds, so we'll start burning right at the T-minus 6 seconds. And there's the moon. we are floating gracefully over the moon. So we actually, with that asparagus staging, increased the efficiency so much it was more than we needed. And we're almost there. And now, right after I do this, I'm gonna want to burn with the little engine to make sure that I don't crash. Alright, so we're gonna start the burn, get this down, and right there. Perfect. Alright. So we're throttled down, we're gonna separate. Spin this baby around. Actually, I'm not going to crash into that, am I? No. It was close. Oh, burned that a little longer than I wanted to. It's okay. We can fix it. But now that will crash into the moon and not float around in space and get in our way. So now we're going to spin this around, and I'm not even going to use a node for this. Periapse is in 1 minute 17. I'm gonna get closer to it. 30 seconds looks good. $19, $18, we're getting close. And I'm gonna burn retrograde and start bringing this orbit down. Actually, probably don't want to do it too much anyway if I want to fix the inclination. I didn't even think of that. So yeah, so this is how we fix inclination. Inclination uses a lot of fuel, but this thing barely needs to use any fuel. It's so small and light. We still got most of that tank left. So, oh man, that sun's awful right there. But yeah, so we're gonna line. Trying to figure out how I want to line this up. Yeah. Kind of make sure everything looks clean together. But the sun doesn't help us. Yeah, there we go, about there. I want to add maneuver. And there we go. That should fix the orbit nicely, and then after that we can finish adjusting. Oh, Billy even need to burn there too. It's not as bad as I thought. Three, two. There we go. Alright, so we've fixed our inclination, and now I just want to make this orbit nice and low. Because aside from, even though it's a communication satellite and I probably want it higher, I actually want it low so we can look at the moon's surface from closer. 6, 5, 4, 3, stop doing it right about here. Perfect. Oh, I think that's even lower than I want it to be, actually. Oh, yeah. That might be too low, just to be on the safe side. Nope, 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 come on. Turn back, turn back. On the safe side, let's go. Just burn there a little bit. There we go, 10. In fact, we don't even need a node for this. We can time accelerate. Time accelerating around the moon. Close that way. 3 minutes. 2 minutes. 1 minute. Seconds. So we're going to line ourselves up with retrograde. "12 seconds. Say we're close enough. 14, 13, 12 minutes. Beautiful. There we are. We have a nice low orbit over the moon. Is Kerbin going to eclipse the sun, or is it going the other way? There we are, look at that, we get the moon's surface, and here we can see the texture glitch that they've introduced, where it actually looks like you're seeing higher resolution texture out here than you are right close up. Yeah, I hope they fix that bug soon. Our satellite looks pretty though, look at that. Look at that, we still have plenty of fuel in this thing too. Maybe we could have got to the moon without using the Asparagus staging, because this little thing is so efficient once it detaches. But oh well, it was a good demonstration of the Asparagus staging efficiency anyway. And if we wanted to, then we could probably return this thing to Kerbin if we wanted to. But yeah, I think that will be all for today. And maybe next time we will start an actual mission to land on the moon. Well, it doesn't look as spectacular as I thought, but we do in fact have a total eclipse of the sun by the planet Kerbin. So it's a little less light here on the moon, and as you can see when we go to the orbit map, we can see that that is in fact lined up. There's where our satellite is. So yeah, that looks nice. I wonder if this... Oh yeah, it's blocked by Kerbin. Look at that for the solar panels. So the solar panels aren't regenerating power right now. It's still using up battery power. Alright, and now that officially ends this video.